I am so pleased to have with me today James McLamb. James McLamb is the co-founder of Generation Ziegler, and I'm a huge Ziegler fan. So I don't know how I think we have mutual friends, and that's how we met. But I'm so glad to have you on the podcast today, James. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Generation Ziegler, and then I have some getting to know you questions after that.
Doug, thank you for your invite, and thank you for the connection that we made through some mutual friends. Our mutual friend Danica, who connected us via some other aspects. As you mentioned, I'm James McLamb. I consider myself a youth development specialist now. Over my career, I have started and managed and been the president of several other companies, and still have some of those aspects of my life. But almost a decade ago, I really felt a calling to put all that behind me and focus totally on youth development. I saw that there was a crisis that youth were encountering, and I felt I was in a position that I could do something about that. The first 10 years of my career, I was in the classroom as a teacher, so it wasn't like I was just coming out of this cold. I understood how to work with youth and some of the concepts that happened there, but So I've just spent the last decade really focusing on that. And that's how our organization really got started, was to equip people. To equip young people with the skills and the content and the credibility that they need so that they can be the best leaders they can possibly be to their generation, and therefore can cause a positive revolution in youth today. So that's really the drive-by, really fast overview of what we do.
Nice. So both being big fans of Ziegler, obviously you create a company around Ziegler. So huge fans. Can you tell me your favorite book or favorite quote from Zig?
My favorite quote is very easy for me to do. It is, "You're what you are and where you are by what goes into your mind. And you can change what you are and you can change where you are by changing what goes in your mind." And I think that is just a profound statement that he made. It impacts every aspect of our life. And if you keep that focus, on that, you really can look at the future with a lot of hope and a lot of optimism, because you realize, hey, I can change my current situation. I can move forward in that. And as a person of faith, I see so many different layers to that, because I can change what goes in my mind by changing how I focus on my faith as well. So I just love that. As far as my favorite book, gosh, I love See at the Top and its kind of sequel, Over the Top. Those probably are the two that I like the best of the 30-some books that he has attributed to author.
Yeah, I liked See You at the Top a lot as well. I love that quote that we could have a whole podcast just on that quote, I think.
We could have a whole podcast. You could have a whole series of podcasts of his quotes. That actually wouldn't be a bad idea.
Right. Yeah. So I will not go into that, because like I said, we could go on and on about the aspects of that quote. Kind of off topic here, not necessarily business. I like to ask my guests like a few personal questions. So favorite movie sequel or movie that has like multiple parts? Is it like Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Lord of the Rings? Do you have a favorite out of any of those type of movies?
Well, the original trilogy that Peter Jackson did on the Lord of the Rings has always been a favorite. I enjoyed The Hobbit. I didn't think it was as good as the original trilogy. So that is a favorite. I'm a child of, spent my elementary years and younger in the 70s and high school years in the 80s. So the Star Wars and Indiana Jones trilogies are kind of defined who I was during those times as well. So those original 6 movies, are very significant, very well done. I don't think we've seen anything quite like those 9 movies that I've talked about, probably in the last 15 years, 20 years, going on almost 20 years now for the Lord of the Rings, because it's been 15, 20 years since those first came out, something like that.
Yep. And now Amazon Prime is releasing the series based around it. So I hope it lives up to the original trilogy, because that would be amazing.
Yeah, I've heard differing opinions on that it's gonna not live up to it, and some saying it will. So I guess the jury will be on that sometime this fall. We'll get feedback on that.
Nice. Now I want to make you use your brain a little bit. If you could only take 3 things on a cross-country trip, what would they be?
People would be the first one. Obviously, I want to take the crucial parts of my family. I don't want to do, any kind of that trip alone. We've had many cross-country trips with my family, but I want to be able to take them across as well. I think I definitely would have to have something that I could listen to my music on, whether it be the current thing that we all use, our smartphones, or whether it be something a little bit, old school. I'd want to be able to listen to music in some aspect when I was there in order to be able to do that. And some kind of information that tells me about those hidden sites and hidden treasures along the way. Now, again, that could be the current way we get our information through a smartphone, or it could be, let's go old school and let me have a little book that actually tells you those things. But something that when I'm with my family that I could, hey, let's just don't hit the major sites. Let's hit these little quirky little places that they're along the way. So those would be the 3 things that I'd want to make sure on the top of the list of must-haves.
Nice. I love that last part, especially about finding those little quirky places, because when my family and I travel I like to reach out to someone that I know that lives there or has been there before, because we don't want to hit all the tourist parts, right?
Right.
We want to hit like where the locals go. Like if we want a certain type of food, like a seafood, we want to know where do the locals
That's
go?
the major thing. I despise going on a trip and doing a chain restaurant.
Right.
I know some folks like it because it's safe, oh, I know what I'm getting. I don't want to do that. I want to go to the place that's a little bit authentic, got that local flavor, local style. And
I know that you're in North Carolina, but you're also familiar with this area. So you've probably been to Myrtle Beach or that area. Do you know the place called Crab Catchers?
I don't know that place. I do not.
Okay. It's right on the water. And they just pull what they're pulling up on the boats right next there is what you're about to eat. So it's super cool. It looks like a little dive, but most of it's like you're seated outside on a dock. But if you ever get a chance to go there, that's kind of like when my family and I, it's almost in North Carolina though. It's not quite in Myrtle Beach proper. So definitely check that out when you're down there.
Oh, nice. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. So now let's dive into your story. Like where were you before you got to Generation Ziegler, and kind of takes us through the steps there?
Well, I was running my family's business at the time, and some subsequent companies that were associated with that. And we were trying to increase our sales. We were trying to increase our reach. And I wanted our sales staff to have the best training possible. So I'm looking all over the line, looking at all these different things. And everybody has a new sales program, what's going on. But I was like, hey, I know somebody who knows the secrets of closing the sale, which was one of his books. So I was like, let me go and find Ziegler's information, got reconnected with their content online, and this was almost 10 years ago, I saw where they were looking for their first class of certified training. So got on their live webinar, asked my questions, listened to Tom Ziegler, Mr. Ziegler's son, explain what they were looking for, and signed up and was accepted for the first class. And while I was there learning about how to train people with their content, I caught a vision for how this content can be delivered to new generations. Because I, at the time, and I still do, I had children who were approaching their teenage years at the time. And I knew that they needed this content. And if they needed it, there were others that needed it. And so I really caught a vision for that. After working with Tom for a while and sharing some ideas with him, we started the company called Generation Ziegler, which the original purpose was equipping young people. Now, we've since expanded those offerings, but originally it was just working with youth to equip them with this content so they could go out and teach their peers, their audience, their community. Because when I first left, my thought was, I'm going to be on the stage. I'm going to be doing the workshops. I'm going to go and speak at camps and conferences. And I did that for about 2 years or a year and a half. And it was great fun. But I realized in an airport in Indianapolis, sitting with Tom Ziegler, that my reach was only going to be so far. But if I could equip enough young people, my reach would be infinitely far. That they could reach people I'll never see, never encounter. And that's what we really tried to do with that, was equip those young people with this content, with the skills, train them up and let them go.
So what types of things are you teaching these young people?
Well, we give them content on 3 areas that we have identified that youth struggle with. We've interviewed over 2,500 youth across the nation in the last 7 years. And we asked them only one question. It wasn't a series of questions, one question. Hey, what's the biggest problem you see your peer group facing? What's the biggest problem you face? Some form of that question. We recorded them, we videotaped them, we wrote down their answers and put them all, and we found that there were 3 common threads there. One is they struggle with self-image. They struggle with knowing who they are. And that's something we all struggle with, but with youth, it's a defining factor. Number 2, they struggle with how to build effective relationships, both with their peers, with their parents, with adults, really anybody. That's really been a point of emphasis, probably even worse in the last 3 to 5 years, in the last 2 years, especially with shutdowns as a result of the pandemic. Relationship building has decreased. And the last issue was finding purpose in life and having the skills to reach those goals once they found those purpose. So we created content around self-image, relationships, and goal setting, which were the first 3 steps that Mr. Ziegler identified over 50 years ago in his steps to success. Now a cynical person will say, well, y'all pigeonholed those answers into these 3. We did not do that. We honestly did not do that. And it is so coincidental, and I think providential, that the order in which the popularity of the answers were, self-image, relationship, goals, is also the order in which he put the steps. Self-image, relationship, and goals. I just think that's brilliant on his part, from 50 years ago, realizing that's what adults are facing. And now we see it what youth are facing. So we give them content on that, Doug. And they're able to facilitate workshops and speak on it and coach others.
That's amazing to have those things in your toolbox as a youth. Sets an awesome foundation for success in life in general. So that is amazing that you're doing that.
And what we realized is we had a lot of folks who were not in that demographic youth. They were older than their mid-20s that wanted to have this content and wanted to come to our workshop. So we didn't want to mix generations if we could, because we wanted the youth to feel uninhibited in our conferences. And we thought, oh, if they got a 50-year-old sitting next to them, they might not be as free to. And besides, the curriculum was created with youth in mind, teaching youth in mind. So someone in their 40s might not get the whole concept. They might not want to do some of the weird, crazy things that we have. Now, I don't mind doing it, but I'm kind of, I'm a juvenile in my head anyway. So, I'm a kid at heart. So it doesn't bother me, but some it might. And that's how we've created our recent project is our coaching certification, which is enabling adults who want to work with youth to coach them effectively going through. And I know you understand more than anyone the value of coaching in people's lives.
Yeah. When you can provide a transformation for somebody, it is incredible.
I love the way you worded that. I need to write that down.
Nice. So I want to pick your brain about some other questions that I have. So what do you think the difference between entrepreneurs that give up when times get tough versus those that stick it out and have success on the other side?
Yesterday, I interviewed a young lady named Jade Gordon, who's John Gordon's daughter, and we were talking about mindset. And I said, tell me about what the crucial thing about mindset is, the benefit of teaching youth and adults mindset. And she said something that relates to this question. She said, it teaches you grit. It teaches you that mental toughness so that when you face obstacles, that you're able to push through them. So the difference between an entrepreneur that gives up and one that perseveres is mindset. It is having that positive outlook, not necessarily that positive attitude in the moment, because you know that we hit struggles and that positive mindset is just hard to handle. But if you have that positive outlook, okay, if I can I know I can get through this, and there's going to be something on the other side. So it's that grit, that having that mindset training to understand this too shall pass. I will get through this. I will see the other side of this. So I think that's crucial. And I thought it was so great that a 24-year-old yesterday, had that understanding so deeply as of that.
Yeah, I love that you said this too shall pass. It's not permanent. And sometimes you got to think, when you're in the moment, what's the worst that could happen? And a lot of times when you reflect on that, it's not as bad as you're making it seem.
Right. And probably if we have a bigger picture of it, we can also see that whatever we're encountering is not nearly as tough and as bad as what others have had to overcome and gone on to achieve greater things in their business. So it's really that mental toughness, that gritness. And, as Jade pointed out, that comes from training yourself to have that positive outlook, to have that positive mentality of going forward. Not the happy-go-lucky, everything is great thing, but understanding there are better days to come. I just need to persevere.
And problems are actually a good thing, because without problems, we don't find solutions, right?
Exactly.
So I often am happy, not like overjoyed, but happy when I have a problem, because, oh, great, this is something that I get to work out. And once I solve it, I'll know how to solve it in the future.
Yeah, and
solve
for
it for someone else.
Entrepreneurs, when problems come up, they may be leading to opportunities for sales, opportunity for new products, opportunities for new growth. Because if they're encountering that problem and they can attack it in a way, then they may be able to, be able to help others that have that, and then they bring value to the marketplace.
Exactly. Now, I know you spoke about your organization helping youth. What do you think many young people believe about entrepreneurship that just isn't true? Or
I think they believe it's not. I think there's a significant number of youth that believe that it is too hard for them to do. That it is too hard for them to take that step forward. There's a young lady that I interviewed recently on our podcast called Maddie Crowley, and she's 21 years old from Dallas, Texas. And when the pandemic started, she was a college athlete. She came home and her sister started a little online business. Their first 12 months, they made over $100,000. The second year, they started 2 more. And now they've started an online class that teaches young entrepreneurs how to get started in the business. And Maddie would say is that the reason that she wanted to do this is everybody was wanting to know from her, what was step one? What was step one? And because they're afraid to take those risks. And Doug, it probably goes back to what we talked about earlier. They struggle with their self-image. They doubt themselves. They struggle with relationships. They don't know how to connect with people around them to go forward. And they struggle with goal setting. They don't know how to set those things properly. So, I think it's just that they don't believe it's possible. I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. And I don't know who can help me.
Yeah, even though they see people like Maddie having the success that she's having, they still have that self-doubt, even though they see others doing it. So
I think we see too often the youth now, and their parents are feed into this as well, believe there's only one pathway to success and money in their life, and that is for them to go the traditional route. Let me go through school, let me go into the next thing, and then go work for a company, when that is not the case at all. There are other aspects of it if they are willing to think outside of the normal box.
Yeah, and actually, I think it's a better time to explore entrepreneurship when you're young, before you have the responsibilities of family and other commitments. And you can make more mistakes and and not have as much consequences, right? So I think it's a perfect opportunity to explore entrepreneurship when you're
That's
young.
a great point. That's a very great point.
So given this kind of parlays what you said about, was her name Maddie?
Yes.
About taking steps, right? So if you were a young entrepreneur, based on what you've talked to other young entrepreneurs about, what steps would you take if you were just starting out in entrepreneurship in today's world? Because there's so many opportunities.
Well, I think one of the very first steps that I would do, and once I got past of setting out what my goals were for this business, what my goals were, how they related to my life goals, was starting to find that circle of friends, that circle, my network of people that could help me reach this. Even more, what you said about it's better to be an entrepreneur as you're young than old. When you're younger, you're going to have more people who are willing to freely give you their time, their advice, value from you, and all that. They're going to willing to help you because they want to see you succeed. Now you get a little bit older, they might not be as willing. They might think you're a threat to them. There's competition. I don't have time to deal with you. You're old enough, find it yourself. But if you're in your early 20s, they're like, oh, I want to feed into you. This. So there's some of that human nature. I want to help somebody coming along that you can take advantage of when you're a young entrepreneur. So that would be my first step is who in my network can help me? I've set my goals up. I know what I want to do. Who can help me with step one? You don't need to go with sales and marketing and your operations. You don't need to dive into all that kind of stuff without having some guidance and help along the way. And fortunately, there are people who would be willing to step forward and help you. Maybe you should they could go to Maddie's online class and be able to get, take advantage of what she's doing as well there. But, you can find help. So look for those people first.
Yes. And if you're okay with it and Maddie's okay with it, if anybody comments below this video or they hear the podcast and says, I'd love to have the link to Maddie's class, we'll post that below. So we'll definitely do that to help anybody.
I'll have to find that for you.
That's all right. That's all right.
It won't take me long.
Right now. We don't need it right now. You can send it to me and we'll just include it later. And now I want to talk about Generation Ziegler a little bit more. So
yes, sir.
Talked about not only the youth, but that you also make an impact. Let me rephrase this question. You help not only the youth, but help those that want to make a positive impact with the youth. Now, can you talk about how you help those people make a positive impact with the youth?
Well, our specific program that we have now is called our Youth Coaching Certification, the Generation Youth Coaching Certification. And as you pointed out, coaches help folks make a transformation in their life. They take people from where they are now and where they want to go. A lot of the people in your audience are entrepreneurs, and they have business coaches that help them take them from where they are to where they want to go in their life. Or they have family coaches. We have marriage coaches. We had just professional life coaches. But youth may need coaching more than any of those places. We parents and adults spend very freely on helping little Johnny and Susie when they're in their teenage years get the coaching and training they need to perform athletically better, with the slight hope that they may be able to take it to a next level, maybe get some money in college. That's a small percentage. That is a very small percentage. And yet that market is very, very vibrant. Mm-hmm. And they're willing to spend $40, $50, $60, $80 per session. How much more impactful would it be and transformative would it be to have someone who's equipped with content to coach this youth with the skills they need to thrive in life, in every aspect of their life, academic, socially, professionally, relationship, all those relationship, that's not even a word, relational, all those aspects of life. And that's what the youth coaching certification does. It gives people who want to be coaches with youth the content they need and the process they need. We give them a proven process, not just teach them concepts of how to coach, but we give them a process that they can do so that they can go forward and be as effective as they can be.
Yeah, I love that. And just to go back, I think all the way back to initially what we're talking about is the foundation of success, right? For anything that they want to go on and do in life, you're giving them more so than even, I mean, yes, if the path that they want to go through is college or entrepreneurship, but having a solid foundation in what these coaches teach is going to help them in anything that they seek out as an endeavor. So that's
especially on those recent studies that we had. The CDC released a report in March that some of your audience may have heard of, but it was from surveys that they had done in 2021 with youth, asking them what they're basically interviewing them about their mental health over the course of 2021. They wanted to see how the pandemic was affecting them. They like 45%, maybe a little low on that number, that has said that for at least 2 weeks, they had felt depressed or anxiety and stress, at least 2 weeks consistently during that time period, every single day, not just maybe, oh, I feel bad today, and then the next few days they're feeling good. This is consistently for at least 14 days. An even more alarming statistic is that there is 19% that say that during that time that they have contemplated suicide. That's 1 out of every 5 almost. So in a classroom today, schools are starting all over the nation over the next few weeks. And you say an average classroom size is 25. You got 5 kids in that room who could have during the past year seriously contemplated suicide. Now we know there's a big gap between seriously contemplating it and then trying and actually, it happening. We know that there's a big gap between those, but still to say that there's 1 out of 5 that have thought about that, saying this darkness that I'm in, I got to end it. We need people to invest in them, whether it's through coaching, whether it's through a life group at a church or a student organization or a student serving organization that's outside of the school system. We need people who are equipped with the right content and the right process to help this. We don't get another chance. We just won't get another chance.
Yeah, I would say I implore anyone that is watching this that has any type of life experience that they can pass on to the youth, to be a mentor, to do just that, because I feel like we owe it to the next generation.
I agree. We do owe it to the next generation. We owe it to give them our best. The solution, the problems are the same that we've had for a long time. These problems that we talked about, self-image, relationship goals, they're not new. They're pretty eternal, but the solutions, the way that we need to approach them, we need different approaches. We need different methods. And I personally believe that the coaching process opens the door for us to really invest in them in a way and in a significant manner. I mean, you guys, you understand that. You help coaches all the time who want to help others succeed. How much more if we could back that up to when they're in their teenage years or even in their college years. At our very first class, we had a young man who said that he was coming to get certified not to help teenagers, but to help those who are in their last few years or days of college who still have no clue what they want to do in the world. Imagine that. You spent 4 years of your life in school and they're telling how many thousands of dollars and you still are clueless.
I think many people would be, I don't have that statistic, but I think if people knew the statistic of people that were there, they'd be blown away by how many people went through and they're about to finish college and they still don't know what they're going to do.
Exactly. And someone who can guide them through a process of finding themselves, of finding the skills, of building effective relationships, of finding their purpose and focus in life. That's going to be much more powerful than another class on statistics is going to lead them to.
So I want to say, if you want to be equipped to help the youth, reach out to James and Generation Ziegler and his certification program, and they will give you all the tools and everything that you need to do that just for the youth. And,
for this particular program, we have a special site for it. It's really easy for folks to remember too. If we haven't put it up, is generation-youth.com. So if they just go to
Nice.
generation-youth.com, they'll find some information on the program and a link to even sign up for a personal consult from one of our staff members to talk with them and see if they're the right fit. Hey, we do have a class coming up in a little over, oh my gosh, a month and 1 day from today. It starts on the 26th of September. So hey, we want to get as many folks as we can for that class as well, because time is of the essence.
Yeah, we'll put that link below. Be sure to check that out if you are wanting to make an impact on the next generation of youth. I've been a mentor to youth in the past. I know how much of an effect I've had, and it's one of the greatest things that I've ever done. So thank you.
It's one of those gifts that keep on giving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, James. Any parting words for our audience of entrepreneurs?
Well, I would be having so much encouragement for people who want to start their own business. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My father started a very successful business from absolutely nothing in the 60s to being one of the largest in his industry in our state, in North Carolina, before his retirement. And I know what it takes. I've witnessed what it takes to get there, but I've also seen the benefits of it, and how that if you are intentional about setting the goals, intentional about setting up your future business as an entrepreneur, you can really reach your life's goals as well. And maybe be able to do something like we talked about at the beginning, a cross-country trip with your family at some point in time.
Yeah, nice. Well, thank you for that. And thank you, Trailblazers. And until next time, keep moving forward.